Hello, moving on with decimals unit 2, levels 4 and 5. We are now going to be giving answers in decimal form, not fraction form, and we are still going to be working with hundredths, moving on from tenths. We're going to be identifying from the models given, and we are going to start with our decimal point. Decimal point, if you don't remember, is the period key, which is down on the right side of your keyboard next to shift and the question mark. And if we do not include the decimal point, it becomes just a whole number, and it will then be wrong because it won't be given in a decimal form. In order to give a decimal form in hundredths, we need to remember that we have two place value points here. This place value is tenths. This place value is hundredths. So in order to give a decimal that is going to be hundredths, we need to use both place value slots. We need to fill both values regardless of how many digits our answer will have. And I'll show you that right now. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hundredths filled in this model. I can also identify that from knowing that one column would be 10 and I subtracted 2, giving me 8. If I were to put an 8 right here, that would be 8 tenths. I have to use 2 digits. So I could write 8 like this, and that would be wrong because I only used 1 digit. So the question is, how do I write 8 but still use 2 digits? Well, I need a place value holder of a 0. Now I used 2 digits, but I didn't change the value. This is still just 8. It transfers to decimals. So I'm going to now write 08. I used 2 digits, and you can see the 8, or the digit that's showing me the value of how much I have in my model, landed in the hundredths place value spot. That's exactly what I want. So now this decimal is 8 hundredths, and I can move on. Here I'm going to have more than 1 digit anyway, and I'll show you that that is actually even easier. I'm going to start with that decimal point, and I'm going to use my skip counting to help me. 10, 20, and using the same strategy as before, I'm going to know that this is 28 because it's 2 less than 30. 28 on its own is already 2 digits. So I don't need to use that placeholder 0 in order to have a 2-digit answer in the decimal place values. It will already reach that hundredths spot because it's already 2 digits. So I can just write decimal point to 8, and this is already 28 hundredths, all on its own. Easy peasy. Moving on to mixed numbers, I'm going to start with that decimal point, and I'm going to review whole numbers go on the left side, and then fraction pieces go on the right side. So looking at my model, I have 2 wholes that are filled in with my model. So those pieces go on the left side. I also have the decimal point means and, so I have 2 and some left over, and that will go on the right side. So let's figure out how much is left. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 71, 72, 73. 73 is already 2 digits, so I can write it just like that. I don't need to use a place value holder in the tenths spot because it's already 2 digits. Moving on to my last example, I have wholes and a fraction piece. So I'm going to start with my decimal point and then begin by counting my wholes. I have 1 whole, 2 whole, 3 wholes, which goes on the left side. And then I'm going to move on to the fraction piece on my right. I can see that this is 1 less than 10, which gives me 9, but 9 is only 1 digit. So I need to use a placeholder of 0 in order to make it a 2-digit number, which is going to be 0 and then my 9. This is now 3 and 9 hundredths because I put the 9 in the hundredths place and use that 0 to make this a 2-digit number. And that's all it takes. These are now decimal equivalents of the models.